Welcome everyone to how I built my digital first studio, how I started my digital first studio. I'm Katy Llewellyn-Jones, thanks Justin for the intro. I am a commercial consultant with a background in international rights distribution. And I work with producers, digital distributors and a variety of companies on content strategy and monetisation of IP. And the topic of should I start a digital first division on how do I start a digital first division comes up quite a lot, so I've been really looking forward to this conversation. I will hand over to you to intro. Shall we start with Lucy? Go down the line.
I'm Lucy Smith, founder of Fawkes Digital.
I'm Lou Tonner, and I'm a co-founder and chief operating officer at Wonder.
I'm Juliet Tzabar. I am managing director of Brighton Zoo.
I would particularly like to understand what the opportunities are that you saw in this space that made you make the move into digital. So perhaps, Lucy, let's start with you. What was the catalyst for you to move into digital first? You were in production before that. What was the catalyst and what was the opportunity that you saw?
I think it was more a kind of mix of opportunity and threat, if I'm totally honest. Because, I was head of development at Wise Owl Films, which was Line Pictures' Leeds division. And, I'm sure a lot of people in this room have shared my frustrations with the commissioning process and how long it was taking to get ideas greenlit. And especially as a Leeds-based indie, I used to call it the bucolic plague. We'd only be commissioned farming programs. I was like, there's got to be a better way, guys. So while I was at Wise Owl, I launched a digital division called Hoot, and we were looking at interesting opportunities to get IP in front of audiences in a much faster, more efficient and exciting way. So that whether that's working with brands or digital broadcasters coming up. Anyway, I kind of got it all going. We had a 4.0 show away. Everything was going great. I went away for 6 months maternity leave with my second and came back and they just killed it dead. And they said, look, go after the BBC Daytime Commission. I was like, guys, I don't have the life to give to this anymore. So I took what I'd learned and I set up Fawkes at the beginning of 2024 and I haven't looked back. So yeah.
That takes quite a lot of self-conviction to back yourself in that way, but I guess the experience of having the exposure to it beforehand, that kind of helped you identify the opportunities. So you had some kind of reassurance sort of moving into that area, which, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I went to a TellyCast event, not to give too much of a shout out for Justin, but, I went to a TellyCast event and I said to myself, if I get to the end of this content forum and I think it's a good idea, I'm going to set up. So I handed my notice the next day.
Wow. Wow. Juliet, I think you've been in digital first for quite a while. Your business started as digital first, if I'm right. What are the opportunities that you've seen and how have you seen them evolve over time?
Yeah, so I suppose probably this is my third, Brighton Zoo, my third sort of digital first business. And back in 2000, I was working for a studio called Victoria Real, and streaming was just emerging, and we were making the content for the first Big Brother website, and it was all very exciting times. And when I left that company, I set up on my own making interactive content for kids. So whilst it wasn't, YouTube wasn't around in those days, it wasn't linear content, it was interactive, but that's how I started out in sort of a digital space. So it was looking at, if you had a TV show, we would come along and make the interactive content to go alongside that. And over the years, I became more and more specialised in the children's audience. And as we all know, children are the original early adopters. My second business then continued doing a lot of the interactive content around for broadcast, but then we realised we needed to get on to originating our own IP, and we started that by building a brand that started as games and YouTube content. By then it was like 2013. So we were making YouTube content and some games. That led us to then we were making music videos for kids. We then made an album of music that went on Spotify and other streaming platforms. We made apps. And eventually we came round to doing traditional media. So then we ended up with, we did 2 series. So we did 70 episodes of animated content for BBC. And then in the latest iteration, which is Brighton Zoo, this is where we came together with a much more traditional media company, an animation studio based in London. They needed regional production capacity, so we were able to deliver that, and we still do long forms, well, kids long form, which is 7-minute episodes, but we still do long form production, but we're also, as a studio, very much focused on the digital first space, and that can really mean anything. It's quite broad, I think, in his content, so it might be reinterpreting a linear, traditional animated series for YouTube. It might be starting an IP in Roblox first. We're doing a development that's converting a podcast into a children's IP at the moment, animated IP at the moment. So for us, sort of digital first means a whole load of different things, and it's stuff that we've been doing for quite a while now.
Wow. Lou, coming over to you, I know you've got an interesting story about how you started in digital first. Perhaps you could give us a bit of background on how Wonder was conceived and what were the opportunities that brought you to it?
Yeah, so Wonder started very differently. We're a content studio now, working with brands and broadcasters. We're a team of 25 based in the northeast of England, but we actually started, Clover is my business partner and also my wife. About 10 years ago, we bought a one-way ticket to Australia to try and figure out life and figure out what we wanted to do. We didn't come from a TV background and we didn't come from a marketing background either. But when we were over there, we got work on a TV pilot, kind of just blagged our way onto the production, and it kind of re-sparked our passion for content. So we bought a little camera and a laptop, and then we spent the next 18 months creating content for businesses, traveling Australia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. What we realised was there was a bit of a gap in the market because businesses were putting out content that they wanted people to see rather than the other way around. We were like, actually, people don't want to hear that, you know, these are my services and these are the things that I can do for you. They want to be entertained, they want personality. So that's when Wonder kind of found its niche. We came back to the UK and yeah, just wanted to grow our company from the northeast, and we've done that organically, focusing on content that has personality.
I think being able to de-risk your business like that in the early stage must have felt like a big advantage. And I think also the 3 different entry points to the business shows how broad the opportunities are in the digital first space. And I'd like to come back to the point on IP, which Juliet's already touched on, because coming from a rights background myself, where owning IP is kind of everything, I'd be interested to understand how that features in your business strategy as businesses. Let's start with you, Lucy. How crucial is that for Fawkes Digital?
Yeah, I think IP is the absolute core of the business. But I think it's kind of a mix. It's like that original IP piece, like developing your own brands that will go on to become huge commercial successes that you retain a massive stake of the IP in, but then also the projects where you might relinquish some of that IP to bake in bigger margin into your projects. So we have a real mixed bag on our slate. We have like big brand projects where the budgets are huge, you know, like £500,000 type budgets, but then we don't retain the IP on that. We sort of do it to bake in the margin. But then we have some projects which are way, way smaller, budgets, but then we retain a much larger stake of the IP. And then some projects where, you know, they're totally self-funded and we're losing money on them, but with the hope that they're becoming huge commercial successes. But I think the thing is about just IP in general, like we all come from an IP first business, in the entertainment space, in TV in particular, you know, we're all about how we can get new IP in front of audiences. That's how you build a sustainable business model. And the problem at the moment in traditional TV landscape is it is wildly unsustainable, the development model, because there are no slots to commission new IP into. And you look at the shows that are a success, you know, we're all talking about The Traitors, you know, it's a de-risked IP with an international market. You know, you look at Rap Game and RuPaul's Drag Race and all of these big shows on telly, they're either international hits or often they're reboots like Gladiator. And so I find like using digital platforms to de-risk IP is a really, really exciting opportunity because you can de-risk IP on a much smaller budget and then hope to grow it into a huge commercial success via all the stuff that everyone's been talking about today.
I think we were talking earlier about one of those examples, which is CEOs in the wild. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that idea and how that's going.
I mean, I bang on about this show all the time, so sorry if you've heard this before. Yeah, I mean, I trialed CEOs Go Wild is a LinkedIn first entertainment show. It is a show it's basically Diary of a CEO meets Bear Grylls for female entrepreneurs and business leaders. And I had this idea, I was so passionate about it. I said, there's got to be something in this, in the era of Trump and all of that stuff. So anyway, I literally spent 250 quid on a meal deal for myself and the petrol up to Scotland. We filmed it with the talent who was also really bought into the idea, Tanuke, who has done it all for free. She was in Scotland doing a hike at the time, and I just posed as the guest. And so we made a £250 pilot, put it on my own LinkedIn. It went nuts. Like, everyone was commenting on it. The clips did really well. And then we've now self-funded an additional 5 episodes off the back of that. So they're all, we've got 2 out, which got 250,000 views altogether. And then we've got another 3 episodes dropping in the coming months. But the kind of mission for that is to go, right, where's the brand deal we can get off the back of it? We're in conversations with a big recruitment company about 150 grand deal to shoot a transatlantic version. And I can see the Disney Plus version with Taylor Swift and Michelle Obama and, Jacinda Ardern and all of that lot. So I can see it, but we've still got to grow out and de-risk that IP first.
It's pretty amazing to be able to take such control of your IP so early on in a business. Via self-funding, and at those budgets, there's very low risk. It's very interesting to hear. Lou, I mean, coming from a more brand-focused background, is owning IP part of your strategy?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because the way that we started our business, IP wasn't a big focus. And it wasn't until quite recently that we've realised the importance of owning your own IP. And that was probably kind of transitioning into the world of TV that we kind of identified that. So what we've done is we've self-funded our first digital content series. It goes out on YouTube. It's called Unthinkable. And that's just a way of us being able to commission ourselves and to own and control that IP. So yeah, we've recently found the importance of that.
And staying with you, Lou, because I think the conversation around brands is really interesting. I'm quite curious to understand what are brands looking for from a digital first studio, and how do you stand out?
Ooh, big question. How do you stand out? So, I mean, it depends which way you look at it. We do a lot of work with brands and organisations on brand personality. I think it's really important that, with AI and everything, you want to make sure that you stand out. And I think a lot of the work that we get with brands is through networking, it's through word of mouth. But it's also really important to show up online. If we started out as a marketing agency, so it's really, really important for us to practice what we preach and put out content on our own social media. And that's, it's been a big part of how we get business. An example of this is we work with KPMG, and that happened through us putting a piece of content out on LinkedIn as well, of us showing off our studio space, but in the fun and cheeky style of MTV Cribs. That did pretty well. It somehow managed to find the marketing department of KPMG, and they got in contact, and we ended up doing a series with them because they realised they needed help with recruitment, and they needed to do it in a fun, cheeky, entertaining, personality-first way.
And so apart from the discoverability factor that you have, how else are you approaching brands? Are you pitching directly to them, or are you going through agencies?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't work too much different to TV. You don't just cold pitch a TV commissioner without building up that relationship and really understanding what they are looking for and what they need. And yeah, you can get briefs, but at the end of the day, it's relationship building. So yeah, it's not too far away from TV.
Great. Juliet, I'm guessing in the world of kids TV, there are some challenges when it comes to working with brands around the regulations on advertising. But how important and how do you work with brands? How does that play out into your strategy?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a new space for us. I think at the moment we're delivering our third project in a year to a toy company, and so that is probably where most of that business development strategy has focused. We've approached it in a couple of ways. I think, obviously huge kind of restrictions in terms of what you can do in terms of advertising to kids, and your monetization on YouTube is, I don't actually know what the percentage difference is, but it's a lot less than content that's marketed at adult channels. And also you've got quite a limited capacity to build community and fandoms around it in that space because there's no commenting on kids' YouTube. So you're always weighing up whether your content's going to sit better on adult YouTube versus the kids app. But yes, it's a complicated picture, and but that's not to say that you can't do it at all. And I think a lot of content companies in the kids space are looking at toy companies at the moment. And I think for us, in our sister studio, Bluezoo, they've been doing work for Lego for many years. They do YouTube first series, incredibly high-end production values. For us, we've been working on some content in the past year, which is for a toy company called Fugglers, but it was very much targeted at kidult audience. So kind of this sort of new sort of licensing category, which is like a lot of it's around collectibles and toys, but actually marketed at adults. So with that, we've kind of had to service a kind of dual audience because you've still got kids coming to that content, but then also it's targeted at adults and you have to tread that fine line. And the other challenge is a lot of the social video platforms outside of YouTube are just not open to us at all. So it's an interesting niche to be in, I'd say.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly chip in on the Lou point? Because it is interesting what you say about brand outreach and like going after the briefs and stuff. Because I think in the early days, obviously my company is a lot younger in a way. So like quite a lot of my outreach at the beginning was just LinkedIn DMing people, like finding a random contact with a marketing director or social media manager title and going, please, can I pitch you something? And or like sending them an original idea. And the number of times you'd get a meeting and then end up in a room where they're making a decision about commissioning a piece. It's like, it's amazing how I guess within the creator economy on LinkedIn, everyone who's got a LinkedIn profile weirdly is in part of that creator economy to a degree.
Yeah, completely agree. Social's important. Yeah. And that's how you post and what you're posting, but also messaging people and comments and interacting and building that community.
Lisa, what's the sort of focus in terms of when you're pitching out content? Are you targeting majority brands, or is it how does that play out in terms of working with brands? Are they a primary focus?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I guess because I come from a TV background, I've always been an IP first person, like an ideas first person, and then find who wants to buy it. So like we do have really strong partnerships with certain companies and brands and legacy media partnerships where we're growing out slates of original entertainment IP in partnership with them, and it's kind of an IP split. I know there are pioneers within these companies who are driving that mission forward in these legacy media brands, like Paul Doyle, I think somewhere in the audience, with Good Food and in media, and they're growing out their entertainment slate. But then, we will go after certain brands that want to push out like big branded projects on huge budgets and don't really know what they're talking about from a YouTube point of view. They're like, just make me something. But then for me, the whole thing is like, what is the piece of IP that we're really passionate about? How is that going to grow into a huge commercial universe, like the CEOs Go Wild idea, right? Every idea, I have to see that there's a massive commercial success story that's going to evolve from it. And then who's going to fund it? So that might be a traditional broadcaster who's got a digital department, or it might be a brand, or it might be a legacy media partner who hasn't been in this space before and is trying to grow out their slate. So I am quite agnostic with who I ask for money. I sort of start with
show me the money.
Well, yeah, literally. Well, who's the partner who's going to allow me to get this piece of IP in front of an audience as quickly as possible to test it? Because I think in traditional media landscape, a first series of a show, for me, is a pilot, right? If it doesn't get to a second series or third series on TV, you don't make any money off it. You know, it dies. And so I think if you think of it like that, but instead of throwing hundreds of thousands of pounds at a pilot series, you're throwing a few £1,000s at it just to test it in front of an audience on digital platforms. That's the way we think about it.
And staying with you, Lucy, one of the things that really strikes me is the skill set that you might need to develop to start a digital first studio. And it comes up a lot in conversations with the companies I'm talking with. You know, how do we do it? Have we got the in-house skills? Or even if someone's thinking of starting on their own. So a question for all of you, actually, but starting with you, what would you say? What is the skill sets that you've needed to develop or bring in-house?
Yeah, get really good at having no sleep and working really hard. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it is a lot of work. And at the beginning, you do have to write the theme tune and sing the theme tune, right? Right at the beginning, it's like, you know, you're coming up with the ideas, you're selling the ideas, you're making the ideas, your second camera, you're ditting, you're, you know, in Korea with 3 people. I mean, Cherry Sandu, series producers, sitting there, hey, Cherry. And like, literally, there were 3 of us on that show in Korea, and we shot 2 shows, one for the Korean Tourism Board, one for 4.0, literally 3 of us on the ground for 2 weeks making them. And so it's lean, right? And you're grafting really hard to win the business and make these shows a success. But hopefully you get to a point, which I think we are now, where suddenly the team starts expanding and the pressure comes off a little bit and you can start actually making money because things come back for a second series and all the work's been done. So I would say, like, tenacity and the ability to work really hard are probably the most important skills you can have.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most underestimated skills, transitioning to that founder mindset, isn't it? But interesting to hear that you didn't name a specific skill. It's like a character trait or a decision to really go for it and be resilient and adaptable by the sounds of it.
I also think, like, you know, when you're you basically have to soul search and go, like, I am a creative at heart. And I think a lot of people in telly are creatives first. But to run a business, you really do have to have a commercial mindset, and you have to love a spreadsheet just as much as you love, like, scripting something and being on location. So, you know, everyone sells out to the spreadsheet eventually, and that reality, just knowing that that's coming for you is also important.
Not for the faint-hearted. Lou, would you concur?
I completely agree. I think I always say that I'm quite lucky because my partner, Clover, has very different skills to me. I like a spreadsheet. I like to know the numbers inside out, and I'm a logical and operations type of person. Whereas Clover is very creative, and she is really good and fast at making really good decisions as well. Whereas, I really struggle with that. So, our skills complement each other. But on a wider team with Wonder Team, I think if we're going to talk about skills, I think it's multi-skilled is really important in a digital first business. We've got like 3 client-facing departments. We've got production, marketing, and client services. And within those teams, everybody can do a bit of everybody's job, everybody's role, and it just works. I mean, the industry is fast-paced. Things are changing really fast, and being able to be agile is really, really important.
And we've come at it from another angle, as you've come through the brand focus, digital first, and TV production, right? You're in production for something for Channel 5, if I'm right. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. We're about to deliver a series for Channel 5 with Ben Fogle. But actually, sorry, I think you were about to ask something.
Well, I was just going to ask, have you been able to transfer those skills within the team? Is that has it been adaptable? Because how different is it to go start there and go to TV production with the same team and skill sets?
TV blew our mind. I think we realised that, you know, there's specific jobs for specific parts of production and development and all that kind of thing. And I think it was a big shock, because we were like, our editors can do GFX, and they can also pick a camera, and they can also help generate ideas with the development team, and it's quite different, but it works for us. It just works.
Great. And Juliet, we've been through the various iterations. So have you seen the skill sets develop over time?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of my own kind of entrepreneurship journey, I've always done that alongside having kids. And because I've always made kids content, I've kind of, to begin with, I was doing lots of preschool content. And now we're really aging up the audience. And my kids are in their 20s, and so are my staff. And so I think you shouldn't underestimate the value of surrounding yourself by, if you're an old person, with a whole load of digital natives, because I can't pretend to understand those media consumption patterns in the same way that my staff do. So I do, sorry, Rachel's over there. I do hopefully listen to them and learn from that. I think absolutely multi-skilled. I think there's the excitement of the sort of guerrilla approach to making content that everybody loves. I mean, I think people really respond well to that, to, you know, the other end of things where you've got people in, particularly in animation, where you have people in very specific technical roles where they might just be looking after one shot, shading in one shot. And I think actually there's a lot of creative energy and fulfillment that comes from making content quickly and with a lower budget and having to be more inventive. But I think the biggest challenge is, you know, I think it's an adjacent skill set, but it's not the same skill set, and that is the marketing and the data side of things, which you do need to be able to get your head around, and it's not naturally, certainly not naturally a fit for me. I don't think if you're used to, especially if you've come from delivering content to clients or broadcasters where you don't have to look after that side of things. You're like, here you go, here's my lovely shiny piece of work, to then now have to think about what the thumbnail's going to look like, or you know, how you just how you adjust your content to fit that sort of marketing need, I think is definitely a new skill set for me, dinosaurs like me.
Can I say one more thing?
Okay.
Sorry. I guess the other thing is deal making. It's like I had never really been on the contract construction end of things when I started my company, and finding somebody, if that isn't your skill set, finding a brilliant senior business affairs person who knows about deal making and contracts, like the most important part of like building a sustainable long-term company.
Best investment, I think. And to Lucy's point earlier about knowing your rights and making sure that you're protecting those. So I'm actually not sure what we're doing on time because I can't see the clock. But I think one question that's probably on everyone's mind is money, revenue, growth, and building a sustainable business model. Perhaps we could just start with you, Lucy, and go through each of you down the line about what would you say is a realistic expectation in terms of a sustainable business model and revenue growth?
Yeah, I think when I started out, I was like, look, I'm going to give myself, I had a 3-month runway. And I said, if I can get a commission in that time, I'll be fine. I'll be able to feed my kids. And the first project we did was a 10K project that we made £1,000 on, and I was well chuffed with that. And then we did Career Ladder and Baddest in the World for 4.0. Career Ladder, we had, I think, 55K from the tourism board to make that series, and that included all the talent fees. They did it for like nothing. They did it for like a couple of grand each. It was like, you know, intelligent naivety territory. And then Baddest in the World, we had 90K to make that show, but because there were 3 of us out in Korea, we could stack it really efficiently and make the numbers work. So, you know, we made probably about, I'd say like a 15-20% margin off those projects, but then that all went back into the business as we're building it. And then now, you know, we've got some projects on the slate which are £500,000 that we don't retain any of the IP in, but, you know, we make a much, much bigger margin. So we're kind of on 20% margin on those ones. But then we have also long-running partnerships. We have a 50-50 split on intelligent, you know, in the IP, but then they're much, much lower budgets. So we kind of, sometimes there's no margin in those, sometimes there's minus margin in those, but we know that the long-term growth of those IPs will pay off in the long run, or we hope they will.
And you're in year 3, right?
Yes, this is, we've been going 2 years and like 3 months.
Lou?
I can't remember the question. Something to do with revenue.
Yeah, the question was how long does it take, and what's realistic expectations in terms of timelines for building a sustainable business model?
Yeah, good question. I think for us, we didn't pay ourselves for 1.5 years because we just wanted to reinvest back into the company because we could see the bigger picture and the bigger plan. But now, like, things are looking very different, and we have like 3 different revenue streams, I guess. Retainers, which is always great, you know what's coming in, and then we've got TV, and then we've got the agency stuff. And I think sometimes the bigger projects with the bigger budgets have less margins, so brand stuff tends to be smaller budgets and bigger margins, but every digital company is also different, so any of the digital companies that have spoke today might have a very different opinion on that. I think that's the exciting thing about digital.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, so we've always kind of mitigated our IP risk by having quite a strong service backbone to the business, and we actually started to originate IP quite late in our journey. For my previous business, and I remember telling someone, we said, oh, we want to make an animated TV series, and he said to me, it's going to take you 7 years before you see any return on investment. It's going to take you 1 year to develop it. It's going to take you 2 years once you've pitched it to find all the finance to make it, or make you another 2 years to make it, another 2 years to return to pay back your distributor advance. So that was kind of our motivation, was like, well, we've got to do it quicker with a minimum viable product, and so we were monetized before we actually made a TV series, which kind of mitigated risk and made sense at the time. But I mean, it's still been a long journey, to be fair, but it's having lots of plays at the same time, I think.
Yeah. I think last question for you all to wrap up. Looking back on your different journeys, is there a particular decision or experience or mistake that you learnt from that has shaped your business? And could you share that with us all?
You've got to bounce back from your mistakes really quickly. I think I think when you're running a business, you realize you can't dwell on the mistakes too long because you're always pushing forward and you're just like accepting that those mistakes will happen and that you'll move on from them very quickly. I am still triggered by a few of my mistakes. There's been like creative relationships that have gone sour. I think there's been deals that haven't been structured in the right way, so it's not going to make sustainable sense for the business. But I think if I had one piece of advice for people looking at this space is don't fish in massive ponds. I think, the time and hours wasted pitching in for opportunities where there's going to be 500 applications in, it's just, I would rather just not spend my life doing that. And that's how I felt in traditional telly, to be honest. So I'd say, if you're looking to get into this space, find ponds that you feel like you're equipped to fish in and have a really good chance of winning that business, because for example, I really admire that the BBC are trying to get into YouTube content, and I think that's brilliant. It's good for everyone in telly that they're looking at this space, but there will be so many hours that go into those pitches. There will be hundreds and hundreds of applications to that pitch, and I think as a small business owner, you have to think, is it worth chipping in for that kind of stuff? So I'd say find your ponds.
What would you say, Lou, about your experiences and what you might have learned, if there's anything you're willing to share?
I think a big lesson early on was not all advice is good advice. And I'm quite aware that is also kind of falls into advice, but I remember really early on we had a business consultant that advised Clover to speak properly and wear a smart business dress or something while she goes networking. And we quickly showed him where the door was, and we stopped working with him. And I think, that a lot of people will have opinions on what's right for your business and what's right for you, but only you know your business, and you just got to trust your gut.
Okay, thank you. Juliette?
Yeah, I think, this is maybe overlapping with some things, but it's just the classic fail fast, because I think I spent a lot of time trying to understand free-to-play gaming, and we had a great game IP that we had developed. It was great, but we couldn't get it away, and I just wish I hadn't spent quite so long failing at it and trying to understand an entirely new business model when I already had enough on my plate.
Right. Thank you very much, everyone. Some really, really useful takeaways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.